Engineering ethics is a field of study that focuses on the ethical aspects of the actions and decisions of engineers, both individually and collectively. It is often described as the principles of conduct governing an individual or group in regards to moral obligations to determine what is good or bad. Not only does engineering ethics focus on right and wrong, but it also includes avoiding conflicts of interest, protecting trade secrets, and the obligation to protect public safety, health, and welfare. As global demand for energy increases, so does the focus around energy ethics. Currently, the world receives 2.5% of its total energy consumption from hydroelectric power, making it the fourth most common source of energy behind petroleum, natural gas, and coal. The objective of this video is to discuss directions for energy issues of fairness and sustainability around hydroelectric power.
A hydroelectric power plant generates electricity by utilizing fresh water, generally from very large rivers. The plant contains three major parts: the electric plant, which generates the electricity, the dam, which is used to control the water flow, and the reservoir, which is used to store the water. Water flows through intakes and then turns blades, which then in turn push against a turbine to cause the electricity to be generated. One of the ethical topics involved with hydroelectric power is that of landscape destruction. There are several forms of landscape destruction that can occur from the use of hydroelectric power. These include flooded reservoirs, which can destroy forests in the surrounding land. And when the dams are created, rivers have to be diverted, which in turn calls for destruction of forests and such. There are dead zones that surround the reservoirs. There are changes that happen due to the ecosystem involving the rivers being diverted and the reservoirs. There is shoreline erosion and the reduction of soil fertility. And in some extreme cases, earthquakes may be caused from the weight of the reservoirs pushing down on the Earth's crust. Contamination of food webs by mercury is a major hazard associated with hydroelectric power. Many reservoirs are recognized as health hazards because they can be breeding grounds for waterborne illnesses and they promote the growth of toxic algal blooms, which can produce methane. Reservoirs are now recognized as the leading cause of mercury contamination of fish. Mercury cascades up from the benthic zone through food webs and become concentrated in fish, birds, and mammals. This can cause problems because the fish can carry mercury away from the dam to areas that are not associated with it. This destroys the food web because mercury is toxic and a health hazard when consumed.
Building of a dam generally has a major impact on fish populations. Migration and other fish movements can be stopped or delayed. Quality, quantity, and accessibility to their habitat, which plays an important role in population, can be affected. One of the most pressing global pollution issues today is nitrogen pollution from extensive use of fertilizer to the world's oceans, causing the spread of dead zones and the collapse of world fisheries. Dams play a large role in the export of nitrogen to the ocean by decreasing the frequency of flooding waters onto floodplains, thus decreasing the river's ability to denitrify its waters before it gets to the ocean. Dams also block the flow of nutrients to the ocean environments upstream into riverine environments. Hydropower plants can also cause low dissolved oxygen levels in water, which can be harmful to river habitat, like fish. One of the impacts of hydroelectric dams is the emission of greenhouse gases such as CO2 and methane. While fossil fuel contributions to global warming are well known, the impact of hydroelectric dams in terms of greenhouse gas emissions is only now beginning to be unveiled and are not free of impact. Scientists have shown that hydroelectric power contributes significantly to the greenhouse gas effect through the release of substantial amounts of methane gas to the atmosphere. For instance, it is estimated that in 1990, the Tucuruí Dam in Brazil released more greenhouse gases to the atmosphere than the city of Sao Paulo. Some authors have gone to the extent of suggesting that per unit of electrical energy produced, greenhouse gas emissions from some hydrologic reservoirs may be comparable to emissions from fossil fuel power plants. When large dams are built, they often require relocation of people from lands that are to be flooded. It is estimated globally between 40 and 80 million people, mostly the poor and indigenous, have been displaced, usually involuntary, Displaced suffer economic and cultural declines as well as high rates of mental and physical illness. Political conflicts can also occur because the dams are built upstream by one group of people or nation, depriving the downstream group or nation of its water.
This video has examined how ethics plays a role in energy with a specific focus on direction for energy policy in regards to issues of fairness and sustainability of hydroelectric power. Although hydroelectric power is often seen as economically appealing, the environmental, ecological, and social effects can generally be considered unethical. From the increased concentrations of mercury in the food web to impacts on the biodiversity of aquatic life to increased greenhouse gas emissions, hydroelectric power is a prime example of why it is important to look at every aspect of a process. We cannot base decisions solely on economic or environmental impacts. Engineering ethics requires us to focus on the entire process to look at the bigger picture.